Hey everyone, so even though there's been a lot of problems with this whole 3.10 update, 3.10.1 did manage to improve mining with the rock. And as you'll see, it's actually quite good now. So we're going to be taking a look at that in this video. So I've done some mining with the rock in this new update, and if you do it right, you can make quite a bit of alpha UAC. I'd estimate you can make around 200,000 credits per hour once you get your rock loaded up into a ship and get mining, as long as you don't run into any issues. So the way I recommend using the rock to get this maximum output is by mining on aerial over at Hurston and flying your rock between patches of mineable rocks instead of driving. If you're doing this, I'd also recommend having the Pembroke armor, because as you can see in the footage here, even with it on, my survival estimate dipped as low as an hour, and that would be much worse in non-heat resistant armor. You can conveniently get the Pembroke armor at Lorville on Hurston, but unfortunately I think it was removed from Grimhex, so that might be the only location you can get it. So you may be wondering why I'd choose aerial if it's such a pain to deal with the environment here, but it's worth it. The reason is that the only minables that spawn on aerial are hadanite, and these are the most valuable, and they're worth nearly double the other minables. There's also the option of microtech, which also only has hadanite, but I prefer aerials since the visibility on microtech can get pretty bad. You still need specialized armor, and the atmosphere takes longer to get in and out of. So now that you're on a moon and ready to mine, it's pretty simple. If you've mined before, this is just more of the same, except you don't even have to be selective about the percentages of minerals in the rocks, since it all breaks down to pure hadanite gems. If you're new though, you scan for rocks both in your ship and in the vehicle by pressing tab to enter scanning mode and then holding down right click and releasing. You want to look for the smaller glowing boxes, and once you get close to those, you should be able to see little gem symbols. If you see a rock symbol, those are the mineable rocks that can only be mined with ships for now, so you'll want to keep looking. So once you find these little gems, land and unload your rock, and then drive up to it. Press M to enter mining mode and hover over the rock to scan it. Then left click to begin fracturing it, and use the scroll wheel to increase the power of the laser to get the rock's energy level in the green section. Then you try to hold it in that green section until the fracturing bar on the right goes up to 100%, and at that point the rock will break. So normally you don't have to worry too much about overcharging rocks a little bit, but since these break down into a ton of tiny pieces, do your best to not have it overcharged at all when it's breaking, because even if it is only slightly overcharged at the time when it's breaking, it'll spray the rocks everywhere, which makes it really annoying to go collect them all. After it's broken, right click to switch to collection mode and pick up those pieces. Be sure to hold it in place for a while though, because it takes a second to pick stuff up after you point it at it. Once you break and collect all the rocks in this area, just load your rock back up into your ship and repeat this until your rock is full, or just until you feel like selling. When you do want to sell, I'd recommend just heading over to Everest Harbor, which is a quick jump from aerial. They'll buy everything you mine over at the admin area. So you can see here that with a rock that is just under halfway full of hadanite, you'll get 100,000 credits, which is pretty good since it only took me about 20 minutes to mine this once I got started mining. Now it is possible to do it without using a ship to fly a rock around, but right now it's just a lot slower, and I don't know if I'd recommend investing in a rock if you don't plan on having a ship to fly it around in. The main reason I say this is because even taking into account the time it takes to load and unload the rock, the mineable rocks are so far apart that flying there is worth it. The prospect of driving is made even worse by the fact that the rock scanners seem pretty short range and take forever to charge for whatever reason, and also by the fact that you have to drive pretty carefully if you don't want to get your rock stuck. If you're flying around with a ship and get stuck, you can probably fix it like I did here, but if you're driving and are 20 kilometers from where you landed, that's a pretty bad situation to be in. So unfortunately, even though you have the option of either selling the rock's cargo on moons at mining kiosks at the outposts, or taking the time to load it into your personal inventory and sell it elsewhere, both of these options are a worse experience to flying the rock around in my opinion. If you do feel like going through the effort of manually picking up the little gems though, you do get the bonus of not losing them in the event of a 30k, because your personal inventory should be retained. However, the Novikov and the Pembroke, which you pretty much need to be wearing to survive in these locations, are currently bugged and don't have any personal inventory space for whatever reason. So yeah, 3.10 is a mess. Overall though, if you're flying the ROC around right now, it's a pretty great way to make money, and it's a lot more consistent than the other forms of mining right now too, since you can mine everything you find and it's all the same. I hope they continue to work on it though, as there's still a lot of visual issues with the laser. The mining UI doesn't really stay that easily visible because it stays at the same level even though you're looking down at the ground, and it's still really easy to flip over and get stuck. Also, I'd like to see the patches of minables be a bit closer together so that it doesn't make more sense to fly as opposed to driving. With that said, 3.10 was a step in the right direction for the ROC, and I'm definitely going to be using it a lot more frequently now. So I hope this video helped you, and thanks for watching.